it's Sarah here, and I'm back at Gianni's farm. Today we are going to be in one of his hoop houses, and we are going to be trussing these tomatoes, and I'm going to also be pruning them. So I'll take you along with me. So here we are at his hoop house and his line of tomato plants. And so what he has done is he's got 2 lines of drip tape for each tomato plant. And he has previously with cucumbers, he had just put 1 line of drip tape per plant and noticed that wasn't sufficient. And so he's doubled up the drip tape per plant. So he has them all in a line, but in order to give them the space when they are growing, what we are doing is hanging them on 2 different lines of trusses. This is the next line here. I've got the next tomato plant that already has quite good looking tomatoes on it. And so I'm taking this clip here and I'm putting this string kind of right in the middle and then snapping it around the plant below the base, below the tomatoes, where there's kind of a larger V or an L in some cases, where it's gonna hang on and not continue up the stem. And then what I want to do is I want to keep following the main stem and gently wind this string around, making sure it's all supported well. But you do want to make sure that you handle these guys with care. There you go. And the next thing before I move on is I'm going to prune it. So really that means taking any suckers off that are kind of coming out of the armpit of the tomato plant. And so what I mean by that is these guys right here that are wanting to grow. Some of them can grow really, really long and big, and some of them are a lot smaller. So that would be it for this tomato plant here. So this pruning is for an indeterminate plant. You can likely find out on your seed package if your tomato plant is determinate or indeterminate. Indeterminate plants will keep growing until an exterior resource will say that they are done, like frost or nutrients. And so here we have the main stem. We have a leaf shooting out, and this is what I mean by the armpit. This one coming up right here. So even though it looks thicker, this is the sucker that we're going to remove. And we're just leaving them in the soil here because there's lots of nutrients in these suckers, and so they'll just get combined into the soil and give back to the plant. So I'm trussing and pruning this tomato plant, and so I've come across quite a large sucker right here. And so the question is when the sucker has already developed and we've got some flowers on it, do you want to keep it or should we take it off? And so what Gianni has taught me is there's a few things you want to look at. One is how healthy the plant is. This one is actually quite thin. The base stem here isn't really that robust and thick. And so for that reason alone, I am going to remove the sucker here. If the plant was a bit thicker, a bit hardier, the other alternative is just to remove the head of the shooter, like the very tip here, and that would stop any future growth, but you would get the fruits that flower or that develop here. So it's really up to you and kind of the overall health of the plant if you decide to, for such large suckers, if you're gonna keep them or remove them. For some of these bigger suckers, I do want to use scissors because you are introducing a wound into the plant. And so you want to try to keep your wound as minimal as possible. So for the little ones, it's easy to use your fingers, but for the bigger ones, it is better to get a pair of scissors and take them off that way. The other tip I've learned is that you should be pruning on a sunny day. The plants need to heal their wound, and if it's overcast, there's just more of a likelihood that you're going to introduce disease at that time if it's overcast and the plants aren't going to heal as fast. So prune on a sunny day. So in the process of trussing, I have damaged the main stem of the tomato plant. So I've tried to bandage it up with this plastic bag splint. You can also just use like tape and literally wrap it around anything that's going to give it some exterior strength to help with the healing. It's quite possible that this is going to do well and reattach and heal. I'm going to leave it down because that just seems like the natural position rather than bending it up and trussing the rest. But what I'm also going to do is leave this shooter here. So typically I would have removed, or sorry, this sucker here. Typically what I would have done is removed this sucker. But because I'm not 100% confident that this is going to heal, what we would then do is we would truss the plant and start the plant going off of this sucker. So in the early spring, what you can do when you want to get them into the ground, but you're still not getting for sure frost-free days, is Johnny did put some wire hooping along these all the way down every single row, and then he would cover them at night with poly and with blankets if the temperature was going to drop below 5 degrees. So you can do that at the beginning of the season to get them into the ground earlier. At the end of the season though, you won't be able to do that because the tomatoes will be up on the vine.